Happy Thursday, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. So, a couple questions that have come up recently because more and more people want to hear my story. And so, I guess my story would start off with I was born into this lifetime. I was the second sibling of five, and I felt very different throughout most of my life than anyone else. And when I can reflect back, I realize it's because I came in with a super heightened sensitivity of feelings, And I had to navigate with my primary source of communication through my feelings in a world of mental thinkers. And so I didn't learn the same way other people did. And so I always felt like I was behind the eight ball, behind the curve, like I had to struggle. I fit in fantastic with socialization and having fun, and I could finish people's sentences. I could communicate with animals. I could read people's energy. I was extremely coordinated physically, so I could dance. I had some massive dance moves when I was young. And so I did okay with some sports too, because I could kind of sense the energy of someone on the opposing team or someone on my team. So if I had somebody else that was in sync with that, we made good partnership. So anyway, fast forward, you get into your awkward teens, you've got hormones in there, you want people to like you, you feel like you're just not quite in the in crowd, not quite with it with everybody, still struggling to get through school, those kinds of things, to only get out and go through my 20s and had a divorce and had a small child. So I really had to be super responsible when everybody else was out playing. But I really continued to work through learning about my feelings and how my feelings were my navigation system. And so I would tune into them a lot. And then when important questions would be asked of me, my emotions would get in the way, and then I couldn't really answer my own feelings because the interpretation would get distorted, because the mental monkey mind and the emotions would want to answer the questions. So anyway, fast forward a few more decades of bumps and bends and bruises and visceral this and that, I was able to navigate riding the waves. And long before I even knew what brain waves were, I would catch myself in this over heightened sense of awareness and not being able to filter the information through my communication feeler receivers so that I could translate them. So sometimes I'd find myself in this heightened alert sense of what I now know is beta. Beta is your fight, flight, freeze. It's your 10 and 2. It's your, I'm totally aware of any incoming and I'm out for complete survival mode. And I'm going to navigate through this as fast as I can. And so when you're in those modes, you're in those modes where you are not breathing life force energy. You're barely breathing in to keep the physical vessel alive. And because it's on such a heightened alert, the adrenals are going. And when the adrenals are pouring, you are not allowed to take in deep breaths because your heart needs to pump harder and it needs to get you away from a life and death situation. So in learning this about myself, I learned, okay, well, I have to be in the elevator with these people, or I have to be at this office with these people, or I have to be in my family unit, my birth family unit with these people. How do I work with communication so I can self-soothe, expand my lung capacity, and maybe float me down a little bit so that more creative juices are flowing, and then I'm in a higher state of communication with myself and co-creating energetic self-adhesiveness, I guess I would say. And so I started really learning how to play with those waves, how to really play with them. Because staying up here in these upper registers of beta was only hurting me. Because the moment I was able to get to any place where my body started to tell me I was safe, I would, have these kind of gasps of air, kind of thing. And so I saw these long patterns of decades of different situations of where I was at. And then I would see patterns of when could be really super relaxed and be in my alpha brainwave. And that's kind of where you want to do art, and where you want to cook, and where you're going to play, and where you're listening to music, and when you just don't have much of a care in the world. And then all these ideas start to come to you. And then we get thrown right back into beta because we got to do 10 and 2, right? So we don't stay enough in alpha. We just don't. So anywho, learning how to kind of navigate through that, I was able to really learn a lot about myself. So in the 90s late 80s, early 90s, when a few were talking about meditation, and I would try my best to meditate, but I found myself in these upper registers. And other people would tell stories about where they went, all the stuff that they did. And I realized they were stories because they wanted to let people know they had this experience, but they were fabricating a lot of it. And for a while there, before I actually knew it was totally true, I used to think, what the hell's wrong with me? Well, I didn't go anywhere. I just sat right here. Well, in time, I learned to sit right there. And then I learned to really go into my body. And I learned where I was all knotted up, blocked or tight, or good heavens, it was a pretzel in the interior underneath of the skin. Outside looked like it was hey, but inside was like so I learned through stop, drop, sit, and connecting with my breath to allow myself to go into that and to go through the spiraling and the unlocking of all of this stuff within my body. And then being freaking K, which is getting into some layers of alpha and not going all the way down into theta and going off into these dreamy visuals that you can get when you're in theta. Because much of the time we're not allowing ourselves enough time to be in the theta. Our mind takes so long to unwind, and by the time we get into theta, we realize our time's up. We've got to bounce right back up to beta. So we're on these like stairs, and this wave of the stairs all the time. And so over time, you really wear out your mechanisms so you don't fall asleep as easily. You may not get as deep and restful sleep. You may not have the calmest nervous system during the day. It starts coming out in so many other different ways. So it really took me quite some time to really focus in on honing in, and then identifying and becoming aware of, and then hone in a little bit deeper, and then play, make it playful, like just checking in with myself periodically throughout the day. Where am I? Where's my brainwave? How is that affecting my physical body? What is it doing with my emotional body? What is my emotional body affecting my physical or my mental. And so you've got this triangle of the me, myself, and I, of all of it. And so then you've got the daily life that's happening. So I really learned to kind of hone in on that. And then I later started calling it the living, feeling thoughts. And the living, feeling thoughts later translated it into embodiment of the soul. So I was embodying my soul, walking as one unit. Now, your soul is like a recording device from original source to now, and it's had many lifetimes and many experiences in its recording device. And so the spirit is the essence of all the things that make up the feelings within that soul. And so we house the spirit from different parts of the soul that can help us through this current lifetime that we are in. And lessons and experiences we chose to come into to maybe do better than we had before, or have a complete redo, or stop before we started something that would have to create a redo later. So it's all about self-awareness and self-expression of the soul's missions that you're here to be on. And one of the things that, because I have gone through it so much and I have different certifications in my toolbox, it allows me to then go into this intuitive soul self and then look at the things that I'm certified in, and then join the guide team of the person or persons I'm working with, bring them into my guide team, and then we have this collaboration and communication that then translates into something that the person or persons can now receive and maybe awaken their feeling and their receptors and receive more information. And then to be able to see on a chart, where are you on beta, alpha, theta, beta, alpha, theta, beta, alpha, theta, beta, alpha, theta. And how long are you in beta? And where are you actually in your alpha? And do you even know the difference when you step on the platform of theta? And then can you control where you are and still be an open receiver and protect the boundaries of your etheric self? And so in a nutshell, it's how I've been able to translate my life into making mentorship and friendships and teaching and sharing information so that I can make others' lives be more open to the receiving and to allowing their tentacles and their receptors to go out and to pick up information, and just know when certain things are information to be let go of and certain things that you need to bring in closer and maybe do a little more contemplation or introspection or reflection or just whatever the word you want to use. You're bringing it in, you're just letting things marinate, and you're seeing if something blossoms from it, good, bad, or indifferent. And then you're ready to kind of let that information go, because none of it needs to be owned by any of us. It's all held in a recording device of the soul. And your spirit is here actually going through the physical experiences with your personality of spirit. And so, you know, we get born, and then we get schooled by our parents of how we're supposed to be, what we're supposed to do, what foods we're going to be served, which ones you better like, which ones, you know, how you should behave, and what belief systems you should have, and how you represent your family, and so on and so forth. So then you get into your 20s and you want to blow it all up, and then you get into your 30s and sometimes you bring it all back in, And then you get a little bit later in life and you're like, what the hell? None of that makes any sense. It doesn't even jive with the DNA cellular system that I have. So I just want to redo. I want to start self-expressing in a way that's much more authentic to who I am versus all of the programming that I've received repeatedly, including what I brought in this lifetime. And so there, my friends, is the awakening of self. And then it requires action to have the expression of the soul through the spiritual experiences. And it's truly a game. It's truly a game, and some takes a lot of strategy and skill. And but you learn to shuffleboard with it the best that you can, so that you can make it enjoyable and not carry along all the things that you tripped over or that you consider to be a failure. You don't want to carry any of those things forward, because that will never allow you to get into the real juices of alpha and theta when you're carrying all that guilt. And just remember, everything's a frequency. And you have the ability in those moments to command that frequency to be gone and to allow yourself to go to another level within your instrument, because you haven't even played this fiddle. You haven't even fine-tuned this fiddle. You're just learning to awaken and realize, oh, I have got some options. Oh, I have got some choices. Oh my gosh, I had no idea that my software system came in fully equipped to do A, B, and C. Wow. And I always equate that to our computers. You're on your computer and you use it for your Windows and use it for this and use it for that and use it for that. And it isn't until there's a problem that you realize an IT guy who knows all the back rooms of everything to get in there and fix something. And then you may realize, oh, I had no idea that my computer was capable of that. It's like I'm still trying to figure out my iPhone after a decade. There's always an update and upgrade, but I only use the basics. And that's what we do with our life. We only live on the basic. And we are so much more than basic. So I've taken all my personal experiences and I've turned them into ways where I can help others. And Spirit was showing me something last night, and they were showing me opening the front door to a house that had absolutely no lights, pitch black, absolutely pitch black. Do you just close the door and walk away, or do you open the door and close the door behind you and say, I'm going to choose to navigate because this is my home? And so you begin to feel, you begin to step slowly, and then you can see where there's maybe, the difference in the floor, or there's a step, or there's a doorway, or where you are in the house, which room are you in? And then you learn to maneuver through that. And then over time, you get better and better. You open the door, you close the door. Now you get a little bit further without tripping, banging, or smashing your hand or your foot or your head or falling down or whatever it is that you would do. And then you do it again, and you do it again, and you get a little further in the house, and you're exploring, right? And now you've got it kind of down pat. Guess what? Someone else is about to knock on that door. Most of us are going to walk back down those stairs, open the door up, and pretend we are a mini flashlight, and we're going to hold our hand out, and we're going to take that person in, and we're maybe going to guide them and help navigate them so that they don't make all the same mistakes that we made. And it isn't even about making the same mistakes. We're just helping them glide through with more ease and grace, with less bumps and bruises. So it's kind of what I put together in what I do as Embodiment of the Soul coach, is to get you to understand you need to merge with that higher self, and you need to commune together as one. It's not outside of you, it's inside of you. And how do you now navigate this technology that may seem kind of foreign to you in the way of feelings? Now, the other thing I want to say is most people that go into the healing arts are tactile and kinesthetic. They're not mental learners. Yeah. I learned that in my late 30s when I went to massage school. And I learned how freaking good I was and how smart I really was. I just learned differently. And it took me 36 years on this planet to come to terms with the fact that I was just not really different. I just wasn't in the mainstream programming. And so it helped me be a much better instructor in all the things that I've done throughout my life, is to understand that, okay, here's a mass of people that do it this way, and then there's Sandy. But there's a mass of Sandys out there. And those are the people that I want gravitating to me and I to them. And then this mass of people may realize, ooh, I need to step over here and learn something a little bit differently. So, Spirit's saying that that's about enough right now. And we are complete. And we want to complete this life cycle with as much expression and experiences of spirit, soul, self as we can possibly get, and to really feel it through all of the waves. Heightened happiness, the deepest of lows, barely catching your breath at beta, where if you kept up that altitude, you would keel over and die, because your brain and your body would not get the air it needs or to sustain itself over a period of time. It can only do that in spurts. But we're trained, though, the more you do and the more you multitask, and the more you keep busy. We're frying our kids' brains out before they're in kindergarten. Yeah, and then we wonder why they get out of control later, because they can't contain their nervous system. They don't even know how to self-soothe. But parents felt their kids needed to excel and be this and be that, instead of actually looking at the child and seeing, what is this personality? What is this constitution? What is this being? How is their spirit different to another sibling's spirit? Maybe this one learns better this way. Maybe this one learns better this way. Instead of waiting till they're a grown adult and they're a mess, and they feel like they've lost at everything, or they're struggling, or they're hiding their depression and their anxiety or their low self-worth. And that, my friends, is bullshit. It's bullshit. And I learned all of it in many different angles. And then I'm here to share it with you. Some of the tips and the tools and empowerment, so that you can find your footing on the next step of your path and embody your soul as I have. And then, my friends, is where the fun begins. Yeah. You will go up and down on a scale. You will learn. You will play. And you will make it fun. And trust me, you'll nosedive. But you'll pick it right back up the more you practice, hone in, and skill. Stop, drop, sit. Freaking connect with that breath. That divine life source. All right? If you think this video would help anyone, please share it with them. In the meantime, every like, every comment, every subscription, every share helps my algorithms, and it helps this video keep circulating, so that maybe someone else who's in need, it pops up on their feed. All right? embodimentofthesoul.com. I'm Sandy Sandra. Email me, call me for a session. See y'all soon. Bye-bye.